I think the best way to learn photography is by making mistakes. You can learn about the things that you have to do in order to have a properly exposed photo, to have a properly composed photo, to how to look for the subject. But unless you are not making those mistakes, I don't think you'll ever learn. The best thing about a mistake is that it will remain with you in your mind. So let's talk about 7 mistakes in landscape photography. Hey everyone, my name is Toma, Phototom here on YouTube, and this channel is all about landscape and travel photography. So if you're interested in this kind of topics, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to join me for one of my photo tours or workshops, or you want to check out my instructional videos, there's a link to my website in the description of this video. There you will have all the details. Now let's get back to those 7 mistakes in landscape photography. The first mistake that I want to talk about is that you think that every photo needs to have a foreground element. While this is preferred, because having a foreground element, a really good foreground element, will help the viewer enter the photo and navigate through the photo. It will add dimension to the photo. But there are occasions when you are in an empty field and the grass is not beautiful maybe, or just a patch of dirt is not that interesting. So there are occasions when you need to skip that foreground element and just frame the background or the element that draw your attention. Mistake number 2 is related to improper framing. So you found an interesting foreground element that leads to the distance, and you frame the photo like this. And the mistake in this photo is that you leave all the left side of the photo not used. That area could be easily cropped away. So this photo would have benefited from a portrait framing a lot more. And so you're having all the story in one place. You don't need to introduce elements that don't support the subject or don't contribute with anything to the photo. Mistake number 3 is being blinded by light. There are numerous occasions when during my workshops we have a really beautiful sunset, a really beautiful sunrise, or just as we had last week, a powerful storm, and then almost like a rain of light. And usually when this beautiful light happens, people tend to overlook choosing a proper subject, creating a good composition. They're just mesmerized by that light. And for example, this is a photo that I did a few years ago. I'm not proud of it. There was a lot of fog and forest, and then the sunset light came into the forest, and I was photographing everything. So it's not a matter that you have to be a beginner to forget this. It will always happen to you to a certain degree. And if I would have moved a little bit to the right, I would have caught this frame, which is a lot better. Mistake number 4 is about improper exposure. There are lots of photographers that don't have any gradient filters. It's not a big thing. You can do multiple exposures and compose those images using the HDR technique, and you can get a really good exposure. But there are a lot of people that are afraid of this technique. I don't really understand why, but it's true. I saw it again during my workshops. People that don't have anti-gradient filters, they don't know how to do HDR, so they either overexpose the sky or they underexpose the foreground or the earth. And neither of these 2 methods will work okay, because pulling up the shadows will increase the noise, bringing down the highlights, which are completely blown away, will also add some chromatic aberration. Mistake number 5 is about not understanding how you properly set up the depth of field. I saw this mainly when the focal length increases a little bit. It goes to, let's say, 35 or 50 millimeter, and the closest element to the photo is not really close to the viewer because he or she is using a longer focal length. But on a theoretical aspect, you are getting closer because you're increasing the focal distance. So when you're focusing on that foreground element, of course, that the rest of the background will be completely blurred. So you need a good understanding on depth of field. You need to understand how your focal length and your aperture and the distance between you and the focus point affect the blurriness of the background and the sharpness in the point of focus. You need to understand this in order to have really sharp and clear landscape photos. Mistake number 6 is about the photo about nothing, and this is a beginner mistake. I did it. I will show you one of my photos. So the minute you find out that there is a thing called bokeh, and you can increase the focal and you can open the aperture, and then everything blurs behind the point of focus, that is the moment when you'll start photographing a lot of things that don't mean anything. And as a landscape photographer, you'll do a lot of photos like this. I'm not proud of doing this. So little branches with little leaves on them that are basically about nothing. They represent nothing, and I strongly advise you not to do them. And the final mistake number 7, the subject that is not really a subject, or that is not really important. Again, I was on the ground in the forest and I saw this patch of grass and I thought, wow, this is an interesting thing, and it's not. It's pointless. So maybe you could find or search something like a flower, like I did. Lucky me, I found a flower next to the patch of grass. The patch of grass falls in more into mistake number 6. So it's more it's a photo about nothing, really. So these were 7 mistakes. There are a lot more mistakes in landscape photography. I have several other videos about mistakes in landscape photography. I will probably do a lot more videos about this because, as I said, I think that mistakes will help you grow and will help you evolve as a landscape photographer. You should not be afraid of making mistakes. It's the only way to go up and evolve. Again, in the description of this video, there's a link to my website. You find there my photo tours and my instructional videos. And what else? Yeah, until next time, keep on photographing. It's the only way to get better. Bye-bye.